Basically, I think magnesium. There was a teacher that said calcio, or he was teaching in Spanish. Calcio, magnesio, potasio. Calcio, magnesio, potasio. So calcium is contraction of muscles. Um, Magnesium and potassium is relaxation of muscles. Um, so I think about it that way. I think about it as relaxing. I think about it as as balancing calcium and vice versa. Um, I definitely, I think I feel the relaxing effects, the calming effects of magnesium, but I definitely feel the stool softening effects of magnesium and the laxative effects of magnesium if I do um, basically like too much or whatever. Um, I don't usually want like hardcore laxative effect or whatever. I consider that like bowel intolerance, like it's too much to absorb. So this is the same way that I think about vitamin C, and actually, I've experienced this with salt too on purpose. Drinking enough salty water that the body can't absorb it, and kind of fighting the impulse to throw up. Um, and then I had like, you know, I don't know how long, an hour or two or three or something. I had like watery stool. Um, because so what I think about that is like that what I think the common knowledge on that subject is that when you take too much of something that your body can't absorb that much or it doesn't want that much, um, um, so like it doesn't want that much salt, a ton of salt or a ton of vitamin C or a ton of magnesium, um, or it can't absorb it. So regardless, there's a lot of these salts because ascorbic acid, vitamin C, is not in a salt form, but it's a solute. So it's something that dissolves in a solvent and water in this case, and then also then like therefore the the that solute, the magnesium salt, because we're always consuming magnesium in a salt form. Magnesium is an as an element in its elemental form. So like on the periodic table, it's a alkaline earth metal, I believe, or maybe an alkaline metal, but it's a metal. So, and you can have the metallic form of magnesium, and if you can light it on fire with a lighter, and it burns super bright, like you can barely look at it. And But then once it's burned, so it's reacted with the oxygen in the air, then it becomes magnesium oxide, um, and which I think is like a form that it's found in rocks basically, and it's a form that per weight it has a lot of magnesium compared to like chelated form of magnesium. I'm kind of getting onto different subjects right now, but like magnesium glycinate is I think what it's called an amino acid chelate of magnesium, meaning the salt is always a cation and an anion. The magnesium is the cation, I believe. The anion in glycinate form is the glycinate ion, which is the amino acid glycine that's lost, or that's gained an electron or whatever. So, and and so so but that's still a salt form of magnesium, um, like in the sense that that's what I think of it as, in the sense that it's not a the 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 metallic form of magnesium. Um, and but like magnesium glycinate is a water soluble form, like the amino acid chelate forms the magnesium glycinate, but also like magnesium citrate, magnesium ascorbate, are magnesium chloride, um, um, which I think is the form that Epsom salt, the form of magnesium in Epsom salt. But these are water soluble forms of magnesium, which are a lot, which we absorb a lot better. If you take a whatever 200 milligrams of it, you'll absorb a lot more of that 200 milligrams of the magnesium. Then it's going to be a different amount of you know of each thing, because the ascorbate weighs different than the glycinate and whatever. But like, so magnesium oxide is a I guess it's I guess it would be considered water insoluble. So I'm kind of mixing it up with like calcium carbonate, um, is um, um, is an insoluble form of calcium. So it's like a chalk, and I kind of think magnesium um, oxide is kind of similar. Well, except that when magnesium oxide comes into contact with water, it becomes magnesium hydroxide, and it I then that salt, I also think that salt is water insoluble. So like, and I think you see that in the form of magnesium hydroxide is the form that's used in like the milk of magnesia. I think that's what that form is, and that's a laxative. That's the effect that they're going for, is a laxative effect. You're taking more than your body actually wants of magnesium. So it's not like a supplement in that sense. You're using it as for the drug effect of the getting back to the laxative effect, the osmotic laxative in a sense. I think it's also a relaxant. So it's also laxative, relaxant. The lax is the same like root, and it's there's a dichotomy, the duality, the dichotomy. The opposites are lax and tense, and I think like the middle ground is like toned, like the ideal balanced state or whatever. But so we can push things to lax if we want to, like let go of stool in this case. And I think like the lax tissue state would be, I don't know. There's different types of laxatives, so I don't know enough to talk about that. In this case, the water, the basically you end up with watery stool, or looser stool, depending how much you take. It could be quite watery or just looser, because more water is less water is being taken out by your digestive tract. So the colon, the lower intestine, takes out water from the digestive system. What's inside of your gastrointestinal tract, our gastrointestinal tracts, it's like I think a watery process all the way from the mouth down until it gets to the colon in like normal function of the gastrointestinal tract. Then the colon takes a lot of water out of what's the feces, or what's going to become the feces soon or something. And then but if you have a lot of salt or salts or a solute like ascorbic acid that is still in there, then the mechanism that it can't pull against that salt is attracting water. Like if you leave salt out on out on the kitchen table or whatever, sometimes they put like if it's natural salt, they often add desiccants to like table salt, I think. But if it's like a natural salt, it ends up attracting water and it gets clumpy and whatever. So that's basically what's happening in the GI tract. That it's the salt or solute is holding on to water. Maybe even to the extent of pulling water the opposite way. So pulling water from the intestinal wall into the intestinal tract, into the feces or whatever. So yeah, so that's the mechanism there of that's an osmotic, because it's working with the pressure gradients of the water and solutes and whatever. It's like pulling water into itself, or it's not allowing the water to get drawn out. So so yeah, I definitely feel like I use it to like soften my stools or keep my stools soft enough, keep, and so then in a sense like keep motility going. I don't know how to parse that out exactly, but like to keep like things moving along. So because the longer they stay in the colon, the more water is extracted under when you don't have a lot of solute in there. The more water is extracted, and then therefore like the harder and drier it gets, and then the harder it is to pass it or whatever, to poop it. So yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of like stuff I've learned about magnesium that's not, well, a lot of that is not. Some of that's theoretical. I know that when I take magnesium, my stool gets soft, or I'll get truly like loose stools. But um, yeah, I feel like I'm pretty sensitive to magnesium. I think some people, I think that might be because I'm not real deficient or insufficient in magnesium. Like I'm getting enough, but I also think there's different body types, and some of the body types are like hotter burner, hotter, more fiery. Like I'm dressed to stay warm right now. There's hotter types, Pitta and Ayurveda, fiery types that that are more like calcium types. um, it's from a particular guy, Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez or something. Um, and so 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 I feel like I might be like the type that doesn't really need a lot of magnesium, because I'm already like more relaxed, less fiery and contractive, getting things done. So in a sense, I might actually need more calcium, and this is something I've been, I think, doing better on a magnesium. Like I feel like I'm sensitive to magnesium to where it's the dose is quite small, and therefore it's hard to like dose it properly. but taking calcium with it lately, I feel like it's easier to dose because they are balancing each other out. So, and then if people have like calcium can cause constipation. So I haven't played with this myself. I probably should. That like if your stools are generally too loose, like supplementing with calcium could be a good way to like bring more firmness, hardness to the stool, and so yeah, I think that was a complete thought. So another thought is just that like when it's back to the chewing tablets concept that I made a video about, is like the forms of magnesium that are not easy to absorb when you're taking it for supplemental purposes are thinking about something I haven't thought about before, but like basically like the insoluble forms of magnesium and calcium are actually forms that are difficult to absorb, but I think if you react, if it's in a tablet, it's not necessarily going to react with the stomach acid, or not much of it. It might mostly break down in the small intestine. Hopefully, it actually breaks down before it exits the body, before we poop it out. And so I'm a fan of chewing tablets so that they break down at all, that we for sure that they break down before we poop them out, but also because if we can get them fully broken down by the time they hit our stomach or leave our stomach, then they can react with the hydrochloric acid, stomach acid, and it converts them from like magnesium hydroxide or calcium carbonate into calcium chloride, magnesium chloride, and it actually they are those both are magnesium oxide that turns into magnesium hydroxide in water, and calcium carbonate. Those are both used as antacids, so it is neutralizing some of your stomach acid. But I think that's worth it to then be able to absorb more of it. Whereas if you swallow the tablet whole and it doesn't break open in your stomach, then you'll actually have the magnesium hydroxide and the calcium carbonate and other of the minerals in an inexpensive multivitamin or mineral supplement will be in these water insoluble alkaline forms. So if those water insoluble alkaline forms make it to your small intestine, then I think they're going to be absorbed a lot less than if they had been converted into their chloride form. So there's that. I feel like that's pretty much all I know about magnesium. Well, it sits at the center of the chlorophyll atom or molecule. So there's always some magnesium in whenever there's chlorophyll. So in like green leafy vegetables, and it's apparently used as in 300 plus enzymatic reactions as a coenzyme or whatever. Like the enzyme doesn't work without it, and those enzymes are in, I guess, maybe all sorts of different processes in the body, but also like for detoxification. So and apparently it's like used up or depleted or whatever, um, in from detoxifying toxins and also through stress, and therefore, um, and therefore, you know, the fact that there's so much stress these days, and that we're all exposed to so many toxins these days, um, and coupled with the fact that our the way we grow food, there's we've depleted the soil of minerals in general, so there's not much magnesium in the soil, um, enough for the plants to make chlorophyll apparently, um, but not necessarily as much as we've eaten in the past or we're designed to eat or whatever. Um, and what like a healthy soil has in it. So um, yeah, so there all of those reasons are reasons why magnesium is such a big deal these days. Um, why people need it and why it's yeah, such a potent mineral for people now. Um, and I guess just because it's like being on the relaxant side, and our world is so like go go go, don't rest, don't sleep, workaholic, that type of thing, um, and just stressful. Um, um, it's just like a balancing mineral for us. If there was a civilization that was like too chill, then like a balancing mineral, which I don't know if that could even exist as a civilization, but then the balancing mineral would be calcium in that sense. So, okay, thank you.